Hello and welcome back to the Jenesis Designs and Modelcraft bench, and this is a little tiny book of Jenesis, and it's again about tools, but this time it's really more about what tools cost and where to get them from. And the reason that's come about is because recently on modelsforsale.com I saw these AK Interactive Tweezers. Now I've been using for quite some time now these cheap Amazon tweezers. These that nominally Pixnor, but if you start looking into it you'll see that most of the sets on there are actually the same thing, just with different names on them. But these are the ESD range, and these come from a set. It's a set of sort of 9 or 10 sets of tweezers for around about the £10 English mark, and I've ended up from that set of 10 using this pair only, really. The rest of them have all ended up like this, being used in the spray booth. I never use angle tweezers, I don't really get them. You don't really need more than one set of pointer tweezers, and I don't understand honestly what these are all about. So yeah, they've ended up in the spray booth. So I thought, these aren't the greatest, they're not the worst, and for the money they're actually pretty reasonable. But the problem with tweezers is if they don't come to a really good perfect point join in here, if these two surfaces inside don't meet together really well, they won't pick things up, and the less well that they meet together, as well as being less efficient at tweezing, they also become infinitely more efficient at tweezer pulting, which is where you pick something up in the tweezers and it goes pew into the third dimension and you never see it again. So a good quality pair of tweezers is actually quite an important tool for modelling, I think. Now I've improved these by pincing a piece of sandpaper and then rubbing so that the inside faces essentially get almost machined to each other, and every now and again I'll just sort of even up the outsides in the same way. But clearly if I can do that with wet and dry, it signifies that the points are quite soft and they do get bent. They're not the greatest basically, so I thought, if I want some nicer tweezers, where do I look? And I thought this might be a good starting point, so I ordered them. These were £2.52, so not a massive investment in fairness. It's an unnecessarily strong packet, oh my word. Let's do it this way. There's some blah there. These are high quality tool for modelling. Precise tool made from the best materials. It may be used for manipulating small parts of your model kits. A tool every modeller will need, essential in every modelling bench. With these precise tweezers you will be able to pick up any tiny part of your model and reach into areas that may be very tight. There you go, in case you didn't know what tweezers were for, now you do. So these tweezers then, what are they? Well, they're exactly the same as these. They're clearly of very similar manufacturer. They've got the same really thick paint, and if you look at the end, they perhaps look like they come to quite a good point, but if I compare them to my homemade machined ones, you can see that they don't really. Added to that, they're quite weak in the springiness of them isn't great. All in all, I haven't even used these because straight away I just picked them up and thought, yeah, no, they're nasty, and blatantly not worth £2.52 because, and this is no slight on Vince, he's just supplying stuff, but they're just not great. These are clearly the same tweezers as you're getting a set of 10 from Amazon for £10, so at £3 for one pair, obviously a huge markup. Not recommended. So I thought to myself, where might one get better tweezers from? So I began searching around Amazon. Not because I think Amazon is the best place to get quality kit from, because it isn't, but because it's an easy place to search, and I decided to have a look at these. These are Majestic Tweezers of Bombay. Now a word of caution at this point, these tweezers are for women. It says so on Amazon. Tweezers for women. So I'm trying to do an audible eye roll here. Don't know if you heard that. So yeah, if you want some of these, having listened to me, I'll put all the links for all this stuff below. But you're going to have to get your wives or girlfriends to order them. And if you're one of those people who lives with another man, I'm afraid you're out of luck unless you have a female friend that can order them for you. I jest, obviously. Now these are much better. Now clearly, to me, because I've got them in my hand, they're again of the same. I think these are all originating in roughly the same place. There's probably a factory in China pumping all of these out. These though are much, much better. They're stronger for a start, as a much better spring. And if I again bring them up, trying to get them both in my hand, there we go. You can tell that I'm not good at chopsticks, can't you? Bring them up and you can see beautiful fine point. And can you see it's because it's machined, that tip's being machined so that it meets perfectly inside and out, and it's got a beautiful fine tip. So these I like. You also get all these others, and you might wonder why these could be of any use to you. And basically it's for folding photo etch, because you can use a folding tool to fold photo etch, of course, and we'll be doing a bit of photo etch here. This is my hold and fold. It's an actual hold and fold, made in the US of A by thesmallshop.com. These are very expensive, and for larger pieces of photo etch, like say you're messing with a flap set or some such, these are absolutely invaluable. But for tiny pieces of photo etch, let's say this box, they're actually a bit of a pain in the bum, and it's quite difficult, honestly, to use them. So what I tend to use most of the time is these cheap beading pliers. Now I got these from Modelcraft, that's a UK hobby store, so I'm quite sure that in other countries, whatever your local brand of general craft centre is, you'd be able to get something similar. These I think were several pounds, and you can see they're just flat nose pliers but reasonably accurate ones. And again, I've kind of filed and sanded them myself to get them as good as I can. But I wondered if some sufficiently well-made flat-nosed tweezers would actually be applicable for this sort of job. And here we go, just like so. So the flatness in here will hold this part straight, and the fact that they're small and fine makes it easy to position them, easier, and able to enable you to accurately make the folds in these parts and then drop them because you're an idiot. So now I'm going to switch to the flat nosed pair here so I can get into the part like so. And there you have it. Tweezers as photo etch folders, you saw it here first, possibly. So yes, in this set you get 4 pairs of tweezers, the small very finely pointed set, and 3 others, all of the flat gripping type but with various sizes and shapes of flat fronts. These are very good, I like these, and these were, I should have put my list in order of how I'm going to talk about them, because now I've got to scan the whole list to find these tweezers set. Tweezers for women, £12.99 for 4. So around about the same price as the AK labelled set, but infinitely nicer. So I do recommend these actually for both tweezing and photo etch folding, and of course plucking your eyebrows if you're so inclined. Put them aside. So from there we move on to scissors, and again this is arising from the same shopping session. AK scissors. Now, a good pair of scissors to me is quite an essential thing in the modelling tool suite. So I thought, again, AK, good reputation. Let's see if these are any good. So first off, we'll look at special for decals. I'm not entirely sure what makes a scissor specific to decals. Let's have a look. I suspect the answer is tininess mostly, and these do look really quite lovely. They're sort of brushed stainless steel looking, quite a nice snip to them, but the handles don't quite line up and they're somewhat flexible. I don't actually have OCD, but I do like good quality tools because it's just something you're going to be working with, using in your hands regularly. It's nice if they feel nice and if they work properly, isn't it? So these are a little bit flimsy feeling, but they do have very fine points and a reasonable scissor action, I think. So what I normally use, or what I have been using for several years now actually, for scissoring, lol, is these. These are Fiskars, made in Finland, stainless steel. These are good quality, ordinary household scissors. And listen to the scissor on this. Beautiful. Even though they're not technically tiny, they do come to quite a good point. So, are they better for scissoring decals or not? Let's see. Versus now, these tiny scissors, floppy as they might be, are definitely easier to manoeuvre around this sheet than those larger ones are. And they do cut to an exact point without too much, oh, I'm doing it off camera again, without too much flex. So I'm going to cautiously say I quite like these for tiny scissoring tasks. They are a bit flexible and floppy, and if you are blessed with larger hands, I mean my hands aren't especially big, you might struggle because the handles are tiny. The fact that they're a bit bent is irritating to me, but we do have a screw join, so potentially you could tighten them as they loosen and get floppy with age. But yeah, cautiously recommend them, but only really for decals. I don't think they'd be man enough for really very much else. These on the other hand are absolutely superb. This is my second set, and I think the first lot lasted literally several years, so brilliant purchase. Again, these came from Modelcraft, but they're widely available online. UK wise, we're talking roughly sort of £13 to £15. So these are £6.50-ish. So these are twice the price, but I guarantee you they're going to last a lot longer and they're more versatile in use. So that's those scissors sorted, and that's a mouthful. So let's move these old decals out of the way. These then, scissors straight. Now these, it just says straight scissors on the pack, but in the blah, these are actually meant for use on photo edge. You can see here. This is another essential tool for any scale modelling workshop. Special scissors for photo etch parts with a long arm and straight tip to apply more force with a precise cut. Just what you need for photo etch. Again, these are brushed and sort of machined. They don't have a massively great quality look to them, and don't have particularly satisfying snip, but they are quite tight. Again, a bit on the flexible side, and the insides of these handles haven't really been rounded out at all, so if you were using them a lot, it'd probably hurt your fingers a bit. Hold on, got off it required. Up to now, my photo etch scissor requirements have been covered by these. Now these are Xeron. This is a Xeron 440 set sold as a high precision shear / scissor, and these are designed for cutting photo etch and the like. So I've got some old bits of photo etch fret here to demonstrate, and I'll try and do it on camera this time. These are indeed extremely precise and extremely efficient. If you wish to use them to remove parts from the fret rather than just cutting bits of fret up, which, you know, would be the usual. Clearly with tiny photo etch parts you start to run into issues with clearance, but when you have clearance you can indeed very precisely remove parts from the fret without too much trouble. And if you line it up correctly, it's one of the cleanest ways to remove a photo etched part that there is. So these will cost somewhere from sort of £15 to £20 again in the UK. Made in America, very good quality. And Xeron do a full range of sort of snips and pliers. So their plastic nippers are quite highly rated. So let's have a go with these AK jobbers. Now then, where my tweezers go? Here they are. Let's play spot the difference. I'm going to show on your hand, stupid. Oh well. Can you see that piece? You don't even see that piece. Can you see that piece is now bent? Has a curve in it. Whereas this piece is not. So these don't cut the fret as easily, nowhere near as easily, and in the cutting process, look how distorted the end of that piece of fret now is in comparison to the other side where I cut it with the Xeron, which is virtually no distortion at all. Let's see if we can take out the part. Similar issues with access, but the blades are even longer. You get in there. And they do cut the part off, and it is quite clean, got to be fair. It's considerably less satisfying to do though, and they're not very comfortable in the hand. They're somehow imparting that distortion. Yeah, which these just don't. Presumably because they're considerably sharper and don't require as much force to cut through the part. And obviously you can use these to cut other things too. Perfectly adequately cut your paper. I mean you can cut paper with these, but I don't. It's just a waste of a good nipper really. Immeasurably superior, frankly. These cost £7, so again around about half the price. So if you really are on that tight of a budget, these will do the job up to a point. Cautious recommendation on both of those scissors. I think that's going to come down to budgetary constraints and personal preference there, but they are perfectly capable of doing the job for which they're advertised, which is nice. So there we have it, a small quick look at a couple of aspects of toolage. Now I think really the takeaway for me on this is buyer beware, that old caveat, isn't it? Be wary of buying, shall we say, brand name tools from modelling companies. With the exception of companies like, let's say, Tamiya, Hasegawa, which are two very good examples actually. You can pretty much be certain that anything you buy from those companies is going to meet a certain level of quality. But things like, I saw a lot of looking through for prices for these things like Revel, Trumpeter, companies like that, and apparently AK. I would steer clear personally, having done this. I think if you want cheap tools, and if you're happy with cheap tools, just buy cheap tools. Go on Amazon or eBay. I think Amazon potentially isn't necessarily cheaper, but it's probably safer, and buy them there. A set of 10 cheap tweezers for £10 instead of one cheap tweezer, which is no better, it's exactly the same in fact, for £3. It's a no-brainer really. Where's my Majestic Tweezers for women? Let's get them in there. There you go. So there you go, just a quick look, probably somewhat unnecessary, but I've been around and bought these things to have a look at them. I do it so that you don't have to. You can now make an informed decision on these parts, on these tools, and indeed I'll put links for everything that I can within reason for the ones that I use and for the ones that I've tested, so hopefully that's of some interest or some use to some of you. If not, I apologise, but there'll be more coming. So yeah, it only remains for me to say at this point, look after yourselves, look after each other, and Jenesis out. Oh, PS, hold the press, I forgot to say, these tweezers for women also come in different colours. You don't have to have black ones. They come in various, these sets come in various different colours, and you can even get sets in different colours so that you can tell from a great distance which tweezer is which, as long as you memorise the colours, of course. Just another bit of valuable info there from me, your host Jen at Jenesis Model. Oh God, this is ridiculous. See you next time, guys.